I will now call to order the December 22nd, 2025 City of Abilene, Kansas City Commission meeting. Shayla, may we please have roll call?
Mayor Ryan,
Here.
Commissioner Witt,
Present.
Commissioner Kohlhoff,
Here.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Miller is absent. Roll call is complete.
Okay, will please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and next up is approval of today's agenda. And I would make a motion to approve today's agenda with the addition of Abilene Wings and Grill to 5E under the annual cereal malt beverage license renewals, along with the addition of item 5F to the consent agenda, which is the appointment of Alan Byer to the Planning Commission to fill the unexpired term of Penny Zellenkoff ending in January of 2027.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any commission discussion?
Can you tell me what's going on with the Pizza Hut? I don't know if we could tentatively approve that or conditionally approve it if they submit the paperwork.
Yep, I was going to kick that over to Shayla.
I am asking that you conditionally approve it today, pending the receipt of their paperwork by the end of the year. I have been in contact with them. I do have emailed copies of it, but I have to have the physical stamps that the state sends. So I'm confident I'll get that, but I just don't have it in hand yet. And everything else has been done as far as inspections and background checks for all of them. So,
So just waiting on the original copy of that.
right.
Have any further commission discussion?
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to reconcile that first agenda and this one here. 1 second, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
That's it. We're good.
Okay. If we have no further questions, move to roll call vote. Commissioner Witt?
Yes.
Commissioner Kohlhoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the meeting minutes for the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting minutes for December 16th, 2026 special meeting, appropriation ordinance A-122225, AP payment register 122225, annual cereal malt beverage license renewals, and item 5F, appointment of Alan Byer to the Planning Commission.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any commission discussion?
There were a couple of items on the AP register here that I had some questions on. I'll shoot those over to the finance director.
Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, move to roll call vote. Commissioner Kohlhoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witt?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item under heading 6, public comments communications. 6A is a public forum. If there's anyone that would like to address the commission on an item not on our current agenda, that may do so at this time. Do we have anyone that would like to address the commission on an item not on our agenda? Just state your name, address, and there's a 3-minute time limit.
Yes, Commissioners, my name is Hank Royer. My address is 309 North Vine, but my more important address for today is 3rd and Buckeye. I own 2 buildings there between 3rd and 2nd facing on Buckeye. It was a little over 3 months ago, about September 16th, that we had our last significant rainstorm here in Abilene, and we all learned that the drainage under the UP tracks is significantly blocked with rocks that appears to be ballast from the railroad that is preventing it from draining when we have significant moisture in the area. The entire downtown drains out through that, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm really worried what's going to happen this winter. I don't know if it's below the freeze line or whether water's going to get in there and freeze, but anyway, we've had various communications. The city has been attentive to it from staff point of view. Initially, the city was going to solve the problem and drag the rocks out of there. And then as time went by and the railroad came, they said, no, you're not going to touch it. And so this is the third communication. I've been here over 3 months, but to my knowledge, nothing has been done. Now, maybe something has been done, maybe something has been worked out with the railroad, but I'd like to know what's going on with it, because that is going to be a major problem. If that's not below the freeze line, it's going to be a real problem this winter when you get ice jams in there and the downtown becomes an ice skating rink. So I'd just like to know what's been done with the railroad.
Yeah, and I would look to interim city manager Quinde and city attorney Martin. I know there's some legal questions that have come about from that. If there's anything
No, I just told them if I flood and you haven't done anything, I'm going to sue the city. But I still want to know what's going to happen. I'm not threatening suit at this point because nothing's happened, but I would like to know that the city's going to do something about it, because I don't know where it becomes your problem. Their blockage, you're aware of it. If it's going to rain, I don't know whether it's your duty to protect the downtown, even though that's not going through their drain pipe or not, but that's another issue. I just want to know if anything's being done on it.
either of you have any updates that you're able to share, yeah, that'd be. Sure.
We continue to work with the railroad on.
I can't hear you.
The drainage.
Is your microphone on?
It is.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
I can't hear you.
I think Kelly may have adjusted. Kelly adjusted, so we're good.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we continue to work with the railroad. We sent them a formal letter notifying them of the issue with process. They sent a response, point of contact, we need to coordinate with, and then they sent us additional documentation that the city of Abilene I don't think that we're at a point where we filed a complaint with federal railroad administration. As I still working with a railroad, honestly. More so.
I still having a really hard time hearing you. I'm not sure if your microphone's broken or what.
Well, as I understand it, John, he said that you're still working with the railroad. As I understood it from our last communication, John, here, the next step is to file a notice with the railroad, a complaint, and it's been 3 months, and I don't know what point the city will be motivated to tell the railroad they got to do something rather than asking them to nicely do something, because this is going to be a real problem. It's not an imaginary problem, and it's not going to go away on its own. So I'm just here to suggest that you need to do something on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Quinde, my understanding is that there was a timeline that we had to adhere to. Is that something you can provide for the commission and the public, and then make sure that that is being followed up on?
I'm not sure what timeline you're referencing. The steps are for us to formally request that the railroad take care of the drainage issue on their property, which we've done. We've received the response from the railroad. Point of contact so we can figure out how to do it, best way approach. And then since then, we've received some additional correspondence from the railroad, which the city attorney and I need to review before taking the next step.
What is the delay in that? When was that information received?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
So it wasn't.
Any information that I've received or updates, I've shared with the governing body by email.
Mr. Martin, maybe you can help me out. Do you remember when that was received? I don't remember seeing anything for maybe a month or more.
Sure. Well, we've, as Mr. Quinde noted, we have engaged in discussions in writing with representatives of Union Pacific. We have engaged with legal counsel in their in-house department, who has in turn engaged with Union Pacific's personnel to ensure that both the legal and operational wings of Union Pacific are engaged as applicable. Our first correspondence that I sent to Union Pacific was on October 31st. And there was substantial research related to responsibilities, regulations, et cetera, before that. And we had to follow up on that correspondence and ultimately found a contact in the legal department. And we've since had some back and forth with them. More recently, I would say within the last 10 to 12 days, they shared some historical context and information, which is what Mr. Quinde and I need to review. They shared it as a courtesy and assured us, I believe, in that same conversation that they were, their personnel would be coordinating with city staff. I've never understood their communication to suggest that they were saying no or they were not working in good faith with us. I've never spoken to them on the telephone or in person, but judging by their communication, albeit they are progressing slowly, they have assured us that they will be in communication to find a solution. I think it's fair to say, and I'm looking to Mr. Quinde in case he interpreted it any differently. But there have been multiple communications, and I would, if you're asking when the last one was, I would say it was probably 10 to 12 days ago.
Would you, and I apologize, I do remember seeing some communication. I think it was actually in response to an email from Mr. Royer, maybe sometime around Thanksgiving, but I don't think that I've seen any other communication from any parties. Will you please, I guess, will you please send anything that is that you are able to share with the governing body that you've received from UP?
I have
I can't hear you.
something everything that I can.
Yeah, he said he has shared everything that he can at this point. Are you asking to resend it?
Yes, if there's, all I've received, I think of note was the response to Mr. Royer's email. I found it here November 20th. I think that was an email string going back to September. And then the communications that City Attorney Martin referenced, we received it on November 1st of this year.
Yeah, I believe there was something additional sent out in the last couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe. I don't know if you're able to find that, but
Yeah, I guess I would just request that you review that, and if there is anything that is appropriate to send to the governing body, to please forward that.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on our current agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we will move into item 6B, Wellfield Health and Production Report.
Good evening, Commissioners. As of right now, the wells and well field are in good shape. The reduction in usage has allowed our well fields to recharge, so we're in good standing so far. Do you have any questions?
As Mr. Quinde noted, we're still under a water warning. And it doesn't appear to me that the wellfield health is any different now than it was before we put that warning into place. Would it be appropriate to recall that?
If the governing body so chooses so, yes.
I would make a motion to do so.
I'll look to Aaron for
The ordinance, but that's something code as a city manager. Anything,
Mr. Quinde, I cannot hear you.
all right.
I don't know why the mic isn't working, so.
Yeah.
So that is something the city manager can do if directed.
Yes. I don't think it even requires direction.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next item under heading 7, unfinished business, is 7A, city manager search candidate criteria. John Deerdoff with the League of Kansas Municipalities. Welcome, sir.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, or Commission, I should say. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. John Deerdoff, representing the Kansas League of Municipalities and working with you all on the search. And we've communicated via Zoom before, but it's good to see you face to face. So what I thought tonight's all about is really just to develop a shared understanding of the commission's expectations of your new city manager. Identify the leadership qualities, experience, skills that are most important to you in Abilene here right now, and then to build a consensus around a clear candidate profile. And so all of you, or some of you, participated in a survey. I think we had about 8 people. I'm going to hand those out real quick.
Thank you.
You have to, yes, there you are. Sit in the back row. They have no lecture on there. So this survey really was intended to gather input from each of you separately and in an attempt to try to show some common threads. And I'll go through it with you here in just a minute. I think it did to a point. And today, through our discussion, our goal is really to come to a consensus on the ideal candidate profile. And so let's just start with the survey right now, the first part of it, and then we'll go into the deeper part of it in just a bit on characteristics. But the first one was how many years of professional experience should be ideal for the candidate to be a city manager here in Abilene. And as you see from the survey, and I apologize those online that don't have that, but I'll try to summarize it for you. There were 6 respondents that wanted 5 to 9 years, and there were 2 that wanted 10 plus years. And, one of the things I wanted to comment on that is that, 10 plus years or 5 to 9 years, what it could do is eliminate some, what I call young and up and comers that might have 3 years of experience. I think 5 to 9 works pretty well. I think 10 to me seems too long, but that's your choice. And so let's just kind of open that part of it, and so we can kind of maybe come to consensus on each of these points, and we'll go through the rest of the survey. What are the thoughts on experience?
I'm open to new, yeah, my mic's on. I'm open to newcomers. I think a lot of people have a lot of good qualities that they can bring to our city. So I'm always open to that.
We can always work in language too, 5 to 9 preferred.
Yeah, 5 to 9 preferred. And, and having gone through this a lot of times, people will say, well, it says 5 to 9, I've only got 4. I'm probably going to tell them to go ahead and apply, so it doesn't eliminate them. But sometimes people say, well, it's 5 to 9, I've only got 3, I'm not going to apply. So is the consensus then the 5 to 9?
Mr. Deerdoff, this is John Koloff. I apologize, I can't be there in person.
Yes.
Can you tell me just a little bit about the process? Will the selection committee or the governing body review all of the applications, or is there going to be a thinning process that we're not privy to?
No, and I was going to summarize towards the end of that process, but yeah, you will see the candidate book. You'll see all the resumes. You'll see our ratings that we do at the staff level recommending to you, but you'll see all the resumes in one book prior to meeting with me to kind of begin talking about who you'd like to bring in for the interview process. Does that address that?
Yeah, thank you. I think that is helpful context as we answer some of these questions, I guess.
Yeah. No, you will. And that's important to me. I know I've seen some processes where maybe the governing body only sees the 7, 5, 6, 7 that are being recommended. And I'm a big believer in the governing body seeing all the resumes, plus the recommendations we have, because obviously you might have different thoughts on that. So, and that's a big part of our discussion when we do it in person. Once you get the candidate profile books in front of you, we'll go through, the top candidates as we've rated them. as our recommendation, plus any that you say you would like to talk more about.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll look at the 5 to 9 years on that. The next one was the minimum educational requirements. And the survey you got, I had to pencil in some, but the bachelor's degree in public administration preferred, 3 of you had that. 2 people had required a bachelor's in public administration. And then there was 1 on a master's degree in public administration preferred. That one's a little confusing. And so I would like to just kind of open it up on the education piece of it. And typically what we look at is, because this survey talks about a bachelor's in public administration. And a lot of times we look at, bachelor's degree in a related field. It could be finance, it could be budget, it could be a lot of different things that really are related to, business of running a city. And so the master's degree in public administration, to me, is something that a lot of the cities we've worked with will put that in as a preferred, but doesn't, disqualify somebody from a, being reviewed. And that gets to the next level of where we ask, does work experience, can it be a substitute for formal education? And there's a lot of, I think most people indicated that it could be. And so in that case, we would just coin it as, relevant experience in running as a city manager, what have you, but I don't have a formal degree. And there's a few of them out there that would be qualified to run this city that may not have a formal degree. So let's kind of focus on the education piece and what you're all thinking there.
Well, yeah, to that, there are some folks that have been in city management for 25 years, but they got into it and worked their way up and didn't, have that specific degree. And I think in related fields as well.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, I guess I've never felt that a specific degree should limit you to that specific field.
I agree with that too.
If that was the case, I'd be an ag economist.
Yeah, that's your degree. Yeah. No, it's interesting. A lot of people, get different degrees and they do something totally different with that. But are y'all comfortable with, related, relevant local government experience substituting for formal education, or do you even want to have that part of it?
Mr. Dudoff,
Yes.
The way I'm just kind of reading the responses here, it sounds like there is maybe a preferred requirement of a master's, a suggested requirement of a bachelor's in public administration or a related field. And then I'm not sure exactly how you would word this from your side, but potentially saying experience in public administration may be considered. I think that would
Yes.
kind of open the door for, I think hopefully someone would know if they had relevant experience to be able to apply for such a position.
Yes, and you summarized that exactly how I would like to see us maybe post it on the education requirements and then the relevant local government experience as a substitute.
Commissioner Witt, you were about to speak to, or does that cover what you're, yep.
Okay.
I'm just looking over at the commissioners-elect too to see if they have any time.
And as I summarize this in just a minute, I will say that we will put together what we call a job ad that will talk about this, and you'll get a chance to review that before we publish. So the next step we got into was looking at characteristics. Each community's unique, each community's different, and the survey asks you all to generate kind of what you consider the knowledge, skills, and abilities, experiences that would best serve this community. And so, I saw a lot of similarities there, and I would just summarize it like this, and hopefully you guys will chime in where I missed something. But, finance and budgeting was pretty much a common theme among all of the respondents. Economic development experience, governing body relationships, and I took that to mean ability to build consensus and work collaboratively with the governing body, community groups, and citizens. Organizational development, employee engagement, and build the team relationships. And then the last note I had was strategic planning. And of course, there's a few other things that were mentioned in there too, as well as public safety, utilities, drainage, affordable housing, downtown development. And so it's kind of a common theme. We talk about affordable housing among most cities. But I did want to ask, economy and business climate, and really what we mean when we talk about business climate. Is that just builder friendly, or what that might mean?
Yeah, I guess I viewed that as, not being the roadblock to any projects, or trying to work collaboratively
Okay, yeah.
to move forward on projects.
Yeah.
So
And that's kind of what I took it as. But as I mentioned, those areas of characteristic emphasis, is that going to work for everybody? And again, you're going to see this in final draft here in very shortly. So,
Mr. Deardoff, I kind of want to,
yes.
on that point, just a moment ago, I think Brandon kind of summarized it, but we've kind of had a bad taste in our mouth here over the last few years where there have been some very real and some very, let's say, theoretical or early discussions with businesses that were intending to relocate or open in Abilene that have fallen short for one reason or another. And it was suggested that the city was a significant roadblock in that process. So just to kind of give you that context, as you may or may not be aware, we were also working on an industrial park development with some state funding. And so I think really understanding that process of acquiring new businesses for the community, actually going out and doing the work in conjunction with our Economic Development Corporation, but also kind of just pushing the city forward. And like Brandon stated very clearly, making sure that we are not the roadblock.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. So again, those are some kind of highlights of the type of person you're looking for. I did notice in there, there was somebody that mentioned in the survey downtown revitalization development, and that's always an important issue for particularly smaller communities. And is that kind of something? I don't know that you guys have a downtown manager, that type, but are you looking for somebody that's maybe had some experience with that?
I think it'd be helpful from like a grant funding
Grants. Yeah.
piece, I guess, for me, because hopefully with economic development kind of reigniting the chamber under their umbrella, hopefully that just something that they could work
Yeah.
collaboratively as a quasi chamber with the new city manager to do grant applications, things like that.
Yeah,
And a lot of go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, I don't really think that we're looking for someone who's going to drive the economic development of the downtown or redevelopment. I think we're really looking for someone who understands it, and similar to some of the other projects, won't be a roadblock and will be able to help push those forward.
Makes sense. What have we missed there in terms of characteristics and kind of, I guess, areas of expertise, if you will, that you're looking for? And again, I know we're kind of just throwing this at you, but you'll have an opportunity to review a draft before we put it all together. And if there's nothing there, let me just talk a little bit about next steps. And so the next step, again, we'll draft the candidate profile and also assemble what I call the community profile, which I believe we're going to utilize some information that's already been there, and we'll work with city manager on that. And essentially, we'll put together a book, and it'll have you'll get all this. It'll have all the resumes in it and our rankings and what have you. And this will be the centerpiece of our discussion when we come back to begin reviewing candidates and narrowing the field down to those that you'd like to bring in for formal interviews. So I did want to kind of mention kind of the posting sites that we typically look at to make sure that we're not missing something. Maybe there's something locally here that you have, but normally we'll look at posting this in the Kansas Association, the KCM site. ICMA is an important one. We also look at adjoining leagues, which is like the Kansas League, Iowa, Nebraska. A lot of those places you place these postings very, very inexpensive. ICMA is the most expensive one. We'll look at the KU School of Public Administration, KMU, LinkedIn, possibly. I always post something there. But I wanted to make sure there wasn't something specific that anybody had that they'd like to see this posting at.
You mentioned LinkedIn. I think that's going to be vital. I'm curious if you guys are using any of the recruiter tools that are available on LinkedIn.
No. It's basically, I've got a LinkedIn account and I'll post ad and say it's really me. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there, but sometimes it's just a extra little piece.
There's a mentor of mine that is a professional recruiter, and that is what he uses exclusively. And I think I can't remember what the data is, but there's a majority, I think, of jobs that are either found through LinkedIn or at least searched through LinkedIn. So I think that's essential. Yeah. I would like it if you would look in to see what those tools are available to you as a recruiter.
I will definitely do that. I do see a lot. I'm on LinkedIn about every day and see a lot of postings, a lot of job postings. And so I think that makes sense.
Thank you.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about is the length of time we post it. And, sometimes, you can post it too long. I'm thinking typically 4 weeks is about the sweet spot. And I'm not sure, John, I don't know how long John's going to be around, but that would basically take us, through the month of January. We get it posted. Resumes would be due February 1. Candidate books would be submitted to you all on February 9th that week, give you a chance to review those. And then we would hopefully set up an in-person meeting with me on the 16th to review the candidate books and begin talking about interviews and start setting those up possibly the latter part of February with the ability maybe to select a candidate early March 2nd. And usually there's going to be a 30-day notice period for some managers, depending upon what their contracts are. So, so that gets us to, at April 1 is the ideal spot. We could be a little bit beyond that, but that's the proposed calendar at this point in time. And, the option is to shorten the posting period, and, that's entirely up to you. And sometimes, they get out there too long, you lose candidates. But, to me, it'd be 3 to 4 weeks would be about optimal.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that 3 to 4 week timeline.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Do you put a specific, a hard end date in there?
Yes, we do. And, sometimes it's, they'll put until filled, and with candidates, I like to say, we're going to accept resumes until February 1, and then boom, we're starting to review them. I'm reviewing them as they come in, and I'll keep the mayor informed on a weekly basis as to how the applicant pool is looking, and make sure we're getting out there. And I've got a few candidates that have already talked to me about this opportunity. So I think it'll be a good one. Abilene, I've been in this business 40 years in Kansas, all in Kansas, and Abilene go way back. I know some of your city managers way back. And it's been a quality city, and the location, the size is just perfect to get that next city manager. And I think we'll be successful here again. So, and the one question that I want you to begin thinking about, and we can talk about this when we finalize the profile, is the salary range. And I don't know if you've talked about that. Is it okay?
Yep,
John, it's all in there.
there.
Good. So we've got that squared away. So is there something about residency in there? Okay. That is another thing I'd like to ask, because to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm going to live in the city that I'm a city manager, but that's changed a lot over the years. It's a lot different, particularly in the metro cities and what have you, and I get that. But I want to be clear on residency requirement. Is that something that is going to be required to live within the city limits of Abilene? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Mr. Martin, do we have a statute on that? I will tell you, I think my preference, well, I would like to make it mandatory. I think it's absurd not to have the city manager be a resident.
No, there is no statutory or code-based requirement that the city manager live in the city limits presently.
And I doubt that's going to be an issue here. I mean, I think, as again, we've done some searches up around the metro area and people want to live in Lawrence and drive 30 miles. They typically don't get hired when that happens, but it's a problem to me, I think. So, I think living within the city limits makes a lot of sense here.
Definitely
So,
preferable.
preferable, yeah. So, okay. Any other questions, Mayor and Commissioners?
You have any questions for
And
John who's
elects,
here?
I should say, yeah. Should I be in communication with John as I send drafts back and forth? Is that how you want to do this?
I think we actually
Or should,
notated.
you're the appoint?
Yep,
Okay.
she's a city clerk.
I'll get it with you
Or-
then. Yeah,
Yep.
I've seen your emails coming across. So yeah, okay.
So,
I'll get those back to you and then quick review. And then I guess the next time I'll be here is probably when we're got one of these put together and ready to start talking
perfect.
the goods. So,
Sounds
okay.
great.
And if any questions in between then, let city clerk know.
Yeah, and if something comes up to where we need to call a special meeting
Yeah.
to address something to get that out, we're more than happy to do
Okay,
so. So
great,
we just don't want to
okay.
stand in the way of that timeline either. So
Well, thank you all. Appreciate it. And looking forward to working with everybody on this search. So
thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is 7B, consider approval of ordinance number 25-3467, an ordinance establishing section 1-504 of the Abilene City Code pertaining to the city engineer and payment of certain engineering fees and costs by applicants, developers, and property owners, and amending sections 1-1102, 6-301, 6-502, 6-507. Take a breath. 6-509, 7-511, 7-607, 7-1118, 7-1206, 7-1208 pertaining to the role and responsibilities of the city engineer, interim city manager Quinde.
Yeah, as we've discussed before, over time, the city code has assigned many duties to a city engineer. And although the city does not employ or formally contract with one, at least in recent years, it may have in the past. Some of those duties require licensed engineering judgment and others are purely administrative and are already handled by city staff. So this mismatch has created operational confusion, inconsistent cost handling, particularly when private development triggers engineering review and cost. We've discussed this issue conceptually at a recent study session, and the city attorneys drafted this ordinance to implement the changes staff recommends. In plain terms, the ordinance does three things. It defines the city engineer clearly. It allows the city to meet code requirements by using a licensed contract engineer rather than requiring a full-time employee. Ensures appropriate licensed professionals handle tasks that require professional judgment aligned with engineer responsibilities. It aligns the duties with the right roles. It moves administrative tasks currently assigned to a city engineer, like sidewalk grades, driveway permits, and even billing intervals, to staff positions that already perform these actions. Makes technical and safety-related decisions such as drainage, wastewater, subdivision engineering, and inspections, stays with licensed engineers. And establishes a single consistent cost recovery rule that when a private application or development requires engineering review, the applicant pays those direct costs. Currently, the city has been paying those costs. This replaces scattered, inconsistent fee language that ensures that the taxpayers don't continue to subsidize private projects. If the commission adopts the ordinance as presented, it becomes effective after publication. From that point forward, the code will match how the city actually operates. Engineering reviews will be handled by licensed professionals when required, and any applicant-driven engineering costs are recovered consistency. This ordinance aligns our code with current practice. It does not create new regulation. It clarifies and organizes existing requirements. We're not hiring a city engineer. It just allows the use of a licensed contract engineer, and only applicants whose projects require it will pay for engineering services, not the general taxpayer. We're asking that the City Commission adopt ordinance 25-3467 as presented.
Any
Mr.
questions for
Quinde,
staff?
Mr. Quinde,
Yes.
some some questions and some concerns. You stated that when you took this position, let's say the engineer who is currently serving the city was sitting you down for meetings and then sending a bill for the privilege. And well, it seems like you've gotten that under control. I have concerns that this could open the door for those probably unnecessary charges to be pushed on to a developer or applicant. And I also have concerns that some of this is going to be duplicative. So if an applicant or engineer has an applicant provides an engineer's study, I guess my concern is that they're going to be paying for their engineer and then for the city's engineer to review it. And I think in that regard, it's not exactly according to current practice. And I would just like some more time to tie this up and make sure that that is well understood by, I guess, myself, number one, but also city staff in those situations by looking at some real world examples. I think the one that comes to mind would be something like a Love's, but then also on a smaller scale, something like the construction that's going down on Buckeye, and then something, let's say, significantly smaller than that, maybe a renovation or something that did require an engineer. So I just want to make sure that we have clear guidelines for that before we were to approve this. I think the intent is absolutely where we want to be. We don't want to be subsidizing, in those same examples, we don't want to be subsidizing Love's, but I also don't want to be duplicative in our efforts either, and unnecessarily add cost to budgets for people that are helping grow our city. I'd make a motion to table this for 1 month and review it in study sessions between now and then. So if I can be more clear, the table it to the second meeting in January. I'm sorry. That'd be fine. Yeah, second meeting in January with it on the study session for the first study session.
Was it on the study session, the first meeting in January?
Yes, put it on the study session agenda for the first meeting in January, and
It's my understanding.
I guess
so,
at that point we can.
So it was on in that last study session, but going back to some of the points that you raised, I think any of the engineering requirements from the city, this would not change any of those.
No.
It would just engross them in the code of what we're already doing.
Correct. Anything that we currently require in code that the city has been paying for would push that cost to the developer. I'll give an example of, let's say, a development requires a drainage study. They submit that drainage study, but we want to have a licensed engineer representing the city's best interest to review that to make sure that it meets our requirements. So it's not adding any more engineering requirements to any development. It's just allocating those costs that the rest of the taxpayers are not subsidizing it.
I hear what you're saying. I would just like to have some real world examples of what that looks like for a Love style development, for like I said, the project on Buckeye and Southeast Third, and another one of choice. Like where are those engineering requirements being raised? What is that burden, and really establishing clear guidelines for staff so that they know when it is appropriate to use an engineer, when it can be accepted from an applicant or developer's engineer.
And those guidelines exist in current code, subdivision regulations. Brad or Carrie want to give real life examples, but even if you do a subdivision and their engineer plats that subdivision, we're going to want to have our staff and an engineer look at that. Like I said, we're not adding any new requirements for engineering. We're sending those costs to those people. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Brad Anderson, Public Works Director. The most recent Live World one that we just dealt with, was as the Mennonite Court housing just finished up. Obviously, that was an engineered project. We met with them several times, but at the end of it, we still had some troubles with runoff and just final engineering that we needed to get done on our side. And so we brought them in. So in that case, I think an example would be we had to have an engineer look at it and sign off and basically give the all clear. And I don't know if the context where if it's a development of that kind, you're kind of putting it on them to do what they should be doing. But yes, we did find some things and had to have some corrections made before it was signed off on for, I don't know, occupancy or what in their community development world. But that's just one example I've been involved with when it comes to a development side of things.
Part of the things that we're working on is improving the industrial park for tenants. In your wastewater code, if a prospective industrial customer is going to be close to or exceed the established contaminant levels for wastewater currently in the city code, they have to provide a pretreatment plan or how they're going to mitigate that. Because generally the standard is whatever they discharge to us has to be equal to regular household waste. So if they are going to be on that borderline, let's say Russell Stover's or another type candy who has pretty acidic discharge and they're close, we'd want to have a licensed engineer look at those contaminant levels and if their mitigation plan meets that. So, like I said, all of these requirements are already laid out in city code. It's what this does is it says that if it's required as part of a development, the city taxpayer is no longer going to pay for it, the developer will. And if somebody's going to come in, whether they're investing $100,000 on a business or they're investing $100 million on a business, to have an engineer review a plan that's already paid for, it's not like we're asking them to create the plan and review it to make sure the city's covered.
Yeah, I think the problem, from my perspective, is that there's no two of these deals that are exactly the same, right? You know, you can build that same housing development that Brad referenced across the street, and it's going to be different.
Yeah, and I would argue
you've given, I think there's enough differences that it warrants further investigation, and that is why I made the motion.
and I would counter that I don't know that we can write an ordinance that's going to cover every possible scenario that can come up.
I understand that, and that's why I think it's important that the one that we do write is good. It's going to be way easier to do it right the first time than it is to change it.
Okay, so there's a motion to table this to the second meeting in January while having it on the first meeting in January study session. Do we have a second? We have a second? Okay, motion fails due to lack of second. Do you have any other questions for city staff on this or the motion?
And I would recommend that the commission adopt the ordinance as presented.
Any further questions for staff or a motion?
I have no questions. Want me to make the motion? Do I have to read that whole thing? I move to consider approval of ordinance number 25-3467 and ordinance establishing section 1-504 of the Abilene City Code pertaining to the city engineer and payment of certain engineering fees and costs by applicants, developers, and property owners, and amending sections 1-1102, 6-301, 6-502, 6-507, 6-509, 7-511, 7-607, 7-1118, 7-1206, 7-1208 pertaining to the role and responsibilities of the city engineer.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Koloff,
Nay.
myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is 7C, consider approval of ordinance number 25-3468, an ordinance establishing new section 7-214, 7-404, 7-405, and 7-811 of the Abilene City Code and amending sections 7-102, 7-401, 7-402, and 7-403 pertaining to extraterritorial connections to the city of Abilene's water and sewer systems and requirements and procedures for the same. Interim City Manager Quinde.
Like the previous ordinance, this item focuses on aligning the city code with how decisions are actually made and ensuring clarity for the applicants, city staff, and for the commission. City code already requires that the governing body approve any water or sewer service outside the city limits, but the code has not treated water and sewer the same way. Sewer connections outside the city limits have long had a defined review process and standards. Water connections do not. That gap has led to inconsistent interpretation, uncertainty for applicants and staff, and avoidable policy risk. Staff presented the issue and potential solutions at recent study sessions. The ordinance presented and written by the city attorney creates a clear, consistent, and policy-aligned process for reviewing water and sewer service outside the city limits, treating both utilities the same. In plain terms, this ordinance does not expand service. It clarifies how decisions are made. It creates a uniform framework for water and sewer outside the city limits. It expands Article 4 so both utilities follow the same approval and review process. It adds clear cross-references so applicants understand which technical standards apply. It establishes a standardized review and recommendation process. It identifies evaluation criteria such as system capacity, cost impacts, proximity to city limits, and long-term planning considerations, and requires a written staff recommendation before commission action. It also implements the comprehensive plan's annexation policy, which requires a no protest annexation agreement as a condition of new or expanded extraterritorial utility service. This protects the long-term fiscal equity and preserves the city's ability to guide future growth. If adopted, the ordinance becomes effective after publication. From that point forward, water and sewer requests outside the city limits are handled consistently. Applicants know what's required up front, and there's clear criteria and documented recommendations to support commission decisions. It does not require the city to extend utilities. The approval remains discretionary and solely at the governing body's decision. This is not a change in policy with the existence of implementing the no protest annexation agreement. And that purpose is to ensure fairness to city taxpayers and preserve long-term growth options. We're asking the city commission to adopt ordinance 25-3468 as presented.
Questions for staff on this item?
Mr. Quinde, I believe I'm correct in this, but my understanding of the comprehensive plan is that it was suggested that we would consider no protest annexation. Can you give me the exact language from that comprehensive plan?
No, I cannot. I don't have it in front of me.
I think the challenge here is that we have a certain number of people who are already, let's say, grandfathered, right? Do we know how many of those folks are grandfathered in addition to Red Bud and a lot of the west side of Abilene, southwest side of Abilene?
No, I do not.
This is kind of my hesitation on this is, well, I certainly understand the need or the desire for that no protest annexation. I think we also discussed some sort of time frame, both in the comprehensive plan and in our study session, where this leaves it open-ended. And so I'm not comfortable, I guess, with the no protest annexation, it's 100% open-ended. Um,
Generally,
again, go ahead, I'm
generally,
sorry.
I don't see certain end dates or sunset dates in this type of an ordinance. If the policy of the governing body shifts that we no longer want to require no protest annexations, generally, you will adopt an ordinance that would remove that section from city code.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
In the discussion on this, the having no protest is the middle ground. So, could be right now where there's no requirement. No protest means, hey, you, if the city wants to annex you, you will annex. Or the city could go even stricter in saying, hey, we're not going to connect water and sewer unless you annex into the city. So that's where seeing this as the middle ground that leaves options open where, I mean, the city can still choose not to annex in a property that gets water and sewer. But it plays, it sets, again, it sets the city up for a better opportunity of then not subsidize, not the rest of the tax base subsidizing those specific properties. So, which Abilene has a habit of doing. So.
Should we withdraw water service to those areas that are currently served and not within the city until they sign a no protest agreement? I'm just in the
That would
interest
be
of
a-
fairness. We've got a couple of different customers, right? We've got our city customers, we've got non-city customers, we've got the rural water district. What's going to be the most fair for all the taxpayers and all the water customers?
That would be a policy decision up to the governing body.
I feel that
I
this
think that's
is,
what we're doing here,
yeah, I feel like this is
right?
one of the most fair ways, I guess, to do it. Because we'd be, I guess, unfairly treating others that have been allowed to connect previously without this. And really, I mean, we can't go back and do any, I mean, we could force that. That just, it doesn't, I guess to me, that doesn't feel like we're negotiating in good faith if we're saying we're going to cut your water off if you don't sign this
Yeah.
after
as
the
opposed
fact.
to giving
Going
them-
forward, at least we're taking care of the problem.
Well, you're creating another problem or a different problem. You're creating an inequality within the system.
I think, yeah, regardless of what we do, it's inherently going to create an inequality for somebody.
As
Can you
a,
explain to me?
in case it's helpful, having a no protest to annexation agreement will simply make it easier if and when the governing body decides in the future to annex. It would still be necessary for the governing body to adopt an ordinance to accomplish the annexation if and when that decision is made. Having that no protest agreement will make it substantially easier for the city commission to do so. Namely, it would not be necessary to have a hearing, which must occur between 60 and 70 days after notice of the hearing to affected landowners. So if you have an owner's consent or agreement not to protest, you can bypass the 70-day notice period. It is not necessary to have a public hearing and make various findings enumerated in the statute, and you can jump straight to annexing. But again, the point I wanted to make is having that agreement does not obligate the city to annex, and that would still be a separate and independent decision made in the future. And by the same token, if there's a property that does not have a no protest agreement, the city may be able to annex that as well. It would simply need to follow those steps that I described earlier.
Thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 25-3468.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A city manager could get water from the city, but he wouldn't have to live in it as long as he lived in a house that was currently built. I think we're making the wrong choice here, fellas and ladies, my dear.
What does the city manager have anything to do with water in this case?
We just said that the city manager doesn't have to live in the city in our discussion with Mr. Deerdoff.
No, we did the exact opposite.
We said we preferred that he would live in the city, just probably like we'd prefer that these folks would sign a no protest agreement. And we'd probably prefer to have Redbud, and we'd probably prefer to have tax revenue from Opal Road and some of those areas. I think we need to be consistent with our principles.
I think John Deerdoff clearly understood that we want a residency requirement. It may not have come through, so if that's the case, apologize, but I think he's under the very clear understanding that's the case. And I will follow up just to make sure, because that's what the majority of the commission stated, so.
And residency would be part of your negotiation of the
Right.
contract. So
Do you have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Koloff,
Nay.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is 7D, consider approval of resolution number 12-22-25-1, a resolution providing for an adjustment to the pay plan of the city of Abilene, Kansas to ensure appropriate compensation for city employees as compared with the comparable labor market. City Clerk, HR Director Moore.
Mayor and Commissioners, a resolution that's presented today increases the maximum tier of the pay plan in each range. It does not adjust the minimum tier because of no raises being approved for the 2026 budget. If we would have increased that tier, people would have fallen below the 3% increase. We're asking that this be approved just so that we can try to stay in line and keep up with our pay plan review that was done a few years ago. So it's just kind of a formality.
Yeah, that's how I read it, is it adjusts the maximum level, but doesn't actually change any salary or pay information.
Correct.
So
How does this affect individuals that are hired in 2026?
It would still be the same pay plan, other than the top tier is increased by 3%. The
So I guess
minimum
what
level would be the same.
So just so I'm clear, so say we have somebody who's in a certain role where there's more than one of those folks, and that role opens up, would say a new person was hired for that role, would they be able to get that top rate where the people that are current employees with the city would not be eligible for that?
Well, I guess they could, but they wouldn't. That's not how we do it. It's not any different than how we hire people now.
this is the plan establishes the minimum and maximum pay rate by a classification of employees. What rate they are started in depends on a multitude of factors such as experience, the role they're filling, and those, and also budget constraints. So every person is considered differently because we all bring unique skills and experience and training.
Can you address my direct question, Mr. Quinde?
You could restate it. I didn't understand it.
Certainly. So in the instance where there are multiple individuals in the city who have the same role, any existing employee would be locked in at a salary for 2026. But if one of those people were to resign and that job was replaced, would that new hire be eligible for that higher salary or that higher pay? Assuming it's within budget, right? Has to be within budget.
Yes, it'd have to be within budget. You know, if you have, say, 5 people in one department whose job descriptions are exactly the same, what that new person comes in at would depend on what their experience is, their training, their certifications, which may not equal the other 4 employees there. That person may or have additional training and experience or certifications, or they may have less. So it's made on a case-by-case basis. What this does is establish the minimum that a position can be paid and the maximum it can be paid. And even if with the maximums, it is all limited to what the budget authorizes.
So I guess the answer to my question is yes, then, correct?
That we can, I guess, yes, we could hire somebody at the maximum range, but generally those maximum ranges are for supervisors and department directors. So if you're to replace a department director and they had equal or greater experience than the existing one, it's possible they could be hired at the maximum range if that department budget or that fund could handle that pay rate.
So did I understand you that these are only for supervisory roles, this range, this pay scale?
No, this is for all employees. You asked if somebody could come in at the maximum rate. I'm providing you with an example of when somebody would come in at the maximum rate. This is the same pay plan that the commission adopted a few years ago. The only change is increasing the maximum rates by 3%. There's no other changes. Sorry, Shayla.
Yeah, and I can, from the table that's included in section 1 of the resolution, that's pretty clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I move that we approve resolution number 12225-1, a resolution providing for an adjustment to the pay plan of the city of Abilene, Kansas to ensure appropriate compensation for city employees as compared with the comparable labor market.
And I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Kolhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Witt.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is 7E, consider approval of the 2026 through 2034 capital improvement and equipment reserve plans. Interim City Manager Quinde.
Yeah, over the past several years, budget constraints has forced the city to defer capital projects and equipment replacement, pushing items years out into the future. Most recently, capital projects and equipment replacement originally planned for 25 and 26 have been extended into 2027 and beyond. As a result, over several years, the city's been operating a cycle of deferral, which increases long-term cost and operational risk. The capital improvement plan and equipment reserve plan before you tonight are specifically for those departments within the general fund and do not include the utilities. And they do not represent a return to full funding. As the commission is aware, for 2026, we did not transfer any funds into the capital improvement plan and budgeted $180,000 to transfer into the equipment reserve. But they are realistic snapshots of what can be supported given the current financial constraints. The plans that are presented to you also move the city from a 5-year outlook to a 10-year planning horizon, which better reflects infrastructure and equipment life cycles and makes funding gaps more transparent. What's included in the CIP, despite the longer horizon, the near-term CIP is very limited and includes only 3 major projects. The C-CLIP 1 and 2, also referred to as the Buckeye Project, that's already obligated and is partially offset by $800,000 in grant funding from KDOT. The Industrial Park Infrastructure Project, which is already obligated and partially offset by a $2.5 million in grant funding from the Kansas Department of Commerce. And the recreation improvements, which is focused on maintaining existing assets and expanding ball fields. There are not any new discretionary projects. Excuse me, that was double negative. There are projects the city is already committed to completing. Would like to point out clarification on the CIP revenue section. The full amount of the general obligation temporary notes issued for the C-CLIP 1 and 2 projects in the industrial park are intentionally not shown as the fully available amount or the amount that was received from the temporary notes. If those amounts were shown in full in the plan, the CIP would falsely indicate approximately $3.7 million in unobligated funds. Approximately 1.25 million from the C Clip 1 and 2 project, and approximately 2.45 million from the industrial park. That would misrepresent the city's true financial position and create the appearance of available capital that does not actually exist. The plan avoids that false signal and presents a conservative, accurate picture. There are 4 projects, however, shown in 2026. Aside from the already obligated projects, there are 4 additional items that staff put into the CIP. Community Center HVAC replacement at $200,000. That's based on a local contractor's estimate of a little more than $199,000 to replace the units. Polymer sealing of the 3 city bridges at $300,000, which will extend the surface life approximately 15 to 20 years and delays much higher replacement costs, with 1 bridge replacement cost estimated at $4.5 million. And third, a mill and overlay of 2 street segments at approximately $580,000, Northeast 14th Street and then Cedar Street from 5th to 14th. These 4 items in the plan as presented are fully offset by $1,080,000 in reallocated general obligation temporary note proceeds that are shown in the revenue section. However, if the commission chooses not to reallocate those funds, which would be way down the road, these projects simply do not move forward and they're pushed back to 2027 and beyond, subject to future funding availability. The equipment reserve plan is projected to end 2025 with approximately $124,000, mainly because of the freeze on equipment purchases that was implemented in July, which included 2 emergency vehicles originally planned for 2025. We have $180,000 budgeted for transfer into the equipment reserve plan in 2026. Because of the increasing emergency vehicle failures and maintenance costs, the 2 delayed police vehicles originally scheduled for 2025 are now scheduled in 2026. And the equipment reserve can accommodate those within the projected fund capacity without destabilizing the fund or asking for the reallocation of general obligation temporary notes. What you're being asked to do tonight is to adopt the 2026-2034 CIP and equipment reserve plans simply as planning documents, not as a promise of funding, as near-term investments remain extremely limited, and future years reflect continued constraint unless the revenues of the city improve. The plans present a realistic, conservative views of the city's capital and equipment needs, showing only what is already obligated or responsibly supportable, while clearly illustrating the consequences of continued deferral. We ask that the City Commission approve the 2026-2034 Capital Improvement Plan and Equipment Reserve Plan as presented.
Questions for staff on this item?
Is there a reason we didn't go through this in a study session?
We have during the several times that I brought to the commission at regular meetings and study sessions on the reallocation of general obligation temporary notes. This is a culmination of those conversations.
Yeah, we certainly discussed that. But again, I don't think we've discussed this as presented. I think this is the perfect thing to discuss at the study session here in a few minutes.
Thoughts from the commission? No, I've kind of, I guess, seen it as it's progressed through the process.
Yes, and it's a planning document. It does not commit the city to anything. Also, it's a requirement, which doesn't mean you have to pass it today, but cities are required to have adopted capital improvement fund plans and equipment reserve plans in order to save money for those types of projects. I'm not sure when the last time the city approved a plan is, but as long as you have one on file, you're fine. So it doesn't make me have to do it tonight.
Does anybody else recall?
Could you repeat that? Sorry, the mic's cutting in and out sometimes.
Oh, my apologies. I believe we did that in March of this year. Does that sound accurate? Or I don't know if the finance director has that in front of her.
I do not.
No problem. Like I said, I think this is a good thing to discuss. I don't think there's any urgency on it. And I think planning for a possibility like reallocating those funds is maybe slightly disingenuous.
But the plan is
I'd
presented.
love to talk about it. Excuse me?
I was just going to say, the plan is presented only shows those as options. And as I stated earlier, that if the commission chooses not to reallocate any funds, or only a portion of, those projects will not move forward. Keeping in
I
mind that
understand.
these plans are dynamic and subject to change.
I understand that, but even contemplating is kind of putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
Well, I'd say that you have to have a plan first before you can reallocate any funds. That's statutorily required.
Like I said, I think it's a great thing to have a plan, and I would love to talk about it in our study session in depth.
Any further questions for city staff on this item?
I would make a motion to table this to our study session to occur shortly.
We have a motion. Sorry, my throat's getting froggy. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Motion fails due to lack of second.
I'll look over to the commissioners elects since you'll be inheriting capital improvement plans and it'll be a part of your work in the coming years. Just looking for either of you, if either of you two have any thoughts around this, particularly if I'm going to vote on it. It's like you're the ones that are going to deal with it. So, any thoughts from you two?
Yeah, standard is we're not setting anything in stone. We're not.
Can you use the microphone, please? Oh yeah, we've got a traveling mic.
The way I understand it, it's just a plan at this point. So I don't see any problem with going ahead with it.
Yeah. So from my perspective, yeah, all the discussions we've had around this is a rank order of priorities. So, and again, with the tight funding situation, we don't know if those next priorities will get funded or not, but in the discussions, it hasn't come up that anything else is a higher priority than those next items, which that's what this plan says. It's like, once funds are available, this is what's next. And so, yeah, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 to 2034 capital improvement and equipment reserve plans.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kohlhoff.
Nay.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Now our next item under, switch for pages here. Under heading 8, new business, is 8A, consider approval of ordinance number 25-3469, an ordinance rezoning certain property located within the parcel generally described as 1500 Northwest 8th Street from a agricultural district to I-1 light industrial district, and amending the zoning map of the city of Abilene, Kansas. Community Development Director Zook.
Good afternoon. This is an ordinance 25-3469 for rezoning the 1500 block of Northwest 8th Street. That's what it is described as of right now, but there will be an address put towards it once we get the building permit. So we've been working with Mark Kinderconnect since October. He is looking at rezoning this from the ag district to industrial. So he will basically have the future development of his business Concrete Plus at this location. There's some details here on the thing. He's planning on building a 40 by 100 building on the east end of that parcel for his shop and storage. His future plans may include subdividing it into 3, and if that's the case, at that point, we will move forward with plating and all of that. So as of right now, just rezoning. This area is highly favorable for commercial industrial development since it has access to Van Buren, Northwest 14th Industrial Corridor, and I-70. I did note on here, I did attach the agenda packet, the staff report that was presented at the Planning Commission. So if you have any questions on that, we can go through that. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing back on December 2nd. They recommended approval of the rezoning with a vote of 6-0. The 14-day protest period did expire on December 16th. We did not receive any protest or feedback on that. The notice of public hearings and everything was published in the Reflector Chronicle, and the property owners were notified as well within 200 feet of that address prior to the public hearing. So your options today, you can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission without change. You can override it with a 2/3 vote, or you can return it to the Planning Commission with your response. Mark Kinderconnect is here today if you have any questions, or if there's any other questions that I can help answer.
Were there any, I guess, issues or questions brought up by members of the Planning Commission that you feel necessary to bring up here in a public forum?
Nope, I don't think so. They were all on board with it.
Okay.
The one thing I did note on the staff report that in the 2024 to 2045 comp plan, the future land use map did show that area. In that area, I should say, going to single family residential. We kind of talked about that. I think it was one of those where we just kind of plugged it in there at the end. So I printed out what we did have in the comp plan, that area. And I think some of that area, maybe south of there, there's a large farmland piece that may be suitable for single family residential in the future. But I think with this development of Northwest 8th Street that did open in 2021, this is more suitable for commercial and industrial traffic. Because you have all those Great Plains traffic, all that stuff going through there. So we could look at amending that future land use map when we do our annual review of the comp plan, but that was really the only thing that I brought up that might be a snag on this, but I don't believe it'll be an issue.
Okay. Mark, do you have anything you want to add? We haven't seen your smiling face in this room in a while, so if you want some camera time.
Get trouble. No, I think everything's good, really. I mean, one thing would like to know, weather is really nice right now. I'm really looking for that permit so we can get started on the building. There's some way possible, if we can get this passed today, it sure would be nice so I could get that permit. We're gonna have cold weather here pretty shortly.
Right. And there were no public comments during that public hearing. Yeah, I would be fine with that. It's already been through the Planning Commission process. And
Mark, you might know, what are the rough dimensions of that? Just length and width of that lot?
Property?
I saw it was 3.5 acres, is that right?
Yeah, it's about 3.5 acres.
Do you know what the width and depth is there?
Yeah. You just have to get it, John.
he's getting it for you. I wasn't sure if you could still hear him.
I guess this is Carrie, I'm sure you checked the boxes here. Do you know when that was annexed?
I don't have that information.
Okay, but that is all, the entirety of that is within the city limits?
Right.
John, it's 839 feet by 175 feet.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions for staff or for Mark while he's here? Appreciate you being here.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number. I gotta make sure I get in the right spot. There we go. 253469.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Next up is 8B, consider approval of ordinance number 25-3470, an ordinance amending section 1-911 of the city code of the city of Abilene, Kansas, pertaining to the Abilene Tree Board. Public Works Director Anderson, Public Works Administrator Hyatt. Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners, once again. I'm here as the presenter today. So this is in regards to an ordinance that City Attorney Martin drafted. If you have any in-depth questions, he may be able to help, but honestly, it's a literature change is what it is. The tree board had a meeting on September 2nd and unanimously voted 4-0 to make this change. So basically, the wording is going to be changed from recommendation is not to make it a requirement for the majority of board members to live within city limits, but instead make it a requirement that all board members reside within Dickinson County. So they've voted to make the change to have some of their tree board members, the literature change, so they're county residents, not just City of Abilene residents. I do not know the details of why they voted on that, if they're having troubles finding volunteers to be on the board would be my initial guess.
Yeah, I know
But-
Jenny's talked about participation is difficult. You always
Yes.
seems like they have people that are really passionate about it that may live a mile and a half.
And
outside city
I know
limits.
that there's at least 3 members that I can think of that live right outside city limits. They may even have Abilene addresses, but so that's the literature they changed. I think the ordinance was provided to you and so I think you're just asking for that change if they can get that today.
I think we have the same consistency problem here, guys. I mean, do they have to sign a letter that we can annex them if they want to be on the tree board? I think it's pretty absurd to let somebody who's not a taxpaying citizen sit on the board that oversees the taxpaying citizens. And it sounds like there's already a majority. If you said, Brad, you said there's 3 people that are on the tree board. It sounds like the board's not even in compliance.
Yeah, I think I'd have to just double check in my mind who they are, and I'm not going to name any names here right now, but
Yeah, no worries. I just think, I mean, it's a terrible policy to get to be an overlord for somebody and make rules that don't apply to you.
I see Jenny work on this
So,
quite regularly and throughout
I'm
the year, and it's just I do know that they've made mentions when it's time to find new people, and they make phone calls and ask for interested people and so forth. And honestly, I just think they don't get much of a response. And that's only my side vision of what I see taking place.
I understand that, but I mean, it seems to me that if we don't have enough interested people within the city of Abilene, we just need to dissolve the tree board. I don't think that we need to start pulling people in from Harrington to sit on the tree board if the people of Abilene aren't interested in it. That to me says that there's no interest in the tree board. I mean, if you want to make a motion to dissolve the tree board or entertain that motion, I would like to put it on a study session. But there's no good public policy reason to allow people who don't live in the city to make decisions for the city.
I can see that point a little bit. My only thing is any funds that the tree board utilizes is allocated by the city commission, which all 5 of us live within city limits. So if they're not making, if we have the final say in financial, I guess, budgeting for the tree board, but you have interested parties that care about the city of Abilene's trees that live just outside of city limits, I think it's kind of a bit of a moot point.
I strongly disagree with you.
I just want to jump in as a representative of 2 city boards. I think this is a common issue across boards. So I don't think it's necessarily just the tree board. So just we keep that in mind. We do have some boards that do not have the requirement of within city limits. So
I'm all for being consistent. I think we should have all of our board members live within the city. I think if there's not enough interest from the city, let's dissolve the boards and let's stop giving them money. Solve 2 problems. Your people are telling you by their refusal to participate in those boards that it's not important. And I think, to make another point, if we're allowing people from out in the county to make those decisions, there's no pressure on anybody in the city to actually do it. So maybe it is important, but somebody else will do it. We just need to be consistent. We need to have principles and we need to follow.
And I don't believe we allocated any funds towards the tree board for this next year. Is that correct? 26 we did. 75. Okay. And it was a small amount. I would make a motion to approve ordinance number 25-3470.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Kolhoff.
Nay.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Witt.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item under heading 9 is department reports. Do you want me to run through all of those? They're included in the packet. I guess if there are any questions or any department directors that want to address anything specifically, they can come up and do so at this time.
I want to point out for Julie, who was unable to be here, she was invited to the governor's announcement at 3 o'clock. The World Cup countdown clock is in Abilene here today. It's in front of the visitor center and will be here for a week. We're one of a handful of cities that they chose to place the clock. Been in Colby, Hayes, and then currently in Abilene. So you get the chance to go down and see it, take a picture. It's lit up at night, about 7 feet tall. I looked up to it, for what, it's some history. Then I just wanted to add on that quick discussion on the water conservation and the status we're in. City code for a water watch, which we're currently in, empowers the city manager to declare and in the water watch, because everything within a water watch is voluntary. If you go to a higher water warning or water emergency, that requires action on the governing body, because then you put in mandatory restrictions. So I will talk with the public works director and the water superintendent, and if there's no reason to continue, then we will publicize it and we'll step out of that.
Yeah. Do you have any commission questions on any of the department reports? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Witt.
Yes.
Commissioner Kolhoff.
Aye.
Myself, yes, motion carries. We are adjourned.